It's The Franklin Show, live from Franklin, with America's favorite adopted pup, Franklin Delano Roosevelt Lloyd Wright Sinatra Seltzer, and his friend and favorite Franklin dog adopter, Michael Seltzer. I'm your announcer, Ed Victor, voice of a million of the best commercials. And now, my biggest break ever. Here's Franklin.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Franklin Show. Franklin and I are here, as always, with some interesting guests. And I'm really kind of excited to talk to this gentleman who I'm going to call you, Ted, a serial entrepreneur, because that's what I think. And you can correct me. Ted Serbinski, a local entrepreneur. Welcome to the Franklin Show, Ted. How are you?
I'm doing great today. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I think serial entrepreneur definitely applies, and happy to dig in there.
Well, so I know we're here to talk about your latest project, which is called Loretta, which is a child learning educational project that you've created, named after your mother. Very sweet of you. I admire that. But your background is from Detroit Venture Partners, the Dan Gilbert Bedrock group of companies, and you've created numbers of businesses. So let's start there. Where did it all begin for you? And tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yeah, so I've been in the technology, web, internet area since I was in high school back in the 90s, when I first kind of cut my teeth building websites, and had built actually a pretty popular color picker tool back in like 1998. After college, I studied computer engineering, and I interned at Intel making computer chips, and that was too boring for me. I didn't like too much electrical engineering. I needed the creative side, the maker side. I ended up kind of switching over to building websites, and that led to building websites for Sony Music, MTV, Seattle Times, bringing me throughout the world. And a first startup I had back in 2006, we actually built the largest blog network for parents. I was not a parent, but my co-founder was, and we ended up selling that to Lifetime Television, 2008. It was actually 52 days before the market crashed. Wow. And crazy, everything's all about timing. And I spent time, I was living in Washington, D.C., but that brought me out to San Francisco. And so a few years in San Francisco, part of that acquisition, working at Lifetime, really in the heyday of a lot of the startups that are popular today. I used to hang out with the founders of Airbnb. I thought it was kind of dumb what they were doing. It's like, this is back in the early days.
You're clearly wrong on that one.
I was like, I'm not sleeping on someone's dirty couch. Like, I lived in a frat house. I'm done. Those days are behind me. Never know what's in front of you.
Right.
And I think that it's always really taught me, like, you really, truly don't know what's in front of you, because just anything's possible in the world. There's always detours. Yep. And so in San Francisco, I never thought I would get to Detroit. That was not on my list at all. But I got engaged, and she was from the area. And I Googled startups in Detroit. This was in 2011. It was right before Quicken Loans moved downtown, or right around the same time. Just sent a cold email to Dan Gilbert's team. And then 2 months later, I'm in Detroit helping to build a venture fund at Detroit Venture Partners. And so, yeah, that's what brought me to the area.
That's an amazing story, actually. And
Thank you.
Yeah, and good for you to make it to Detroit. You know, I mean, look, Detroit had a reputation, and I'm a born and raised Detroiter, grew up in the 60s, and we had some tough times, man. And until Dan Gilbert, my neighbor in Franklin Village, came along and did what he did in downtown Detroit, it was pretty embarrassing to say you were from Detroit. And yeah, we had some great history, but for 50 years, it was a dead city. Mm-hmm. He certainly injected a tremendous amount of life, and the entrepreneurship that comes out of Detroit is tremendous and amazing. And you're obviously a big part of that. So thanks to you as well. And your concept of Airbnb, I don't want to sleep on someone's dirty couch. That's pretty funny. actually, given all the success they've had.
Oh yeah. It's like I said, never know what's in front of you. And when I came to Detroit, similar, a lot of my friends thought I was crazy. I was like going downtown and I'm like, what am I doing? And I was like, well, if this doesn't work out, I can still move back to DC or maybe move to Boston or Chicago.
You'd have to convince your wife, though. I don't know how easy that would be.
Exactly. Now we're close to family, but yeah, it was just seeing all the energy, the excitement, the building. And I think that what really seeing that over again, it's just like when you have that energy and drive and you kind of have the recipe, it's like this is likely to work. That's really kind of what that recipe to just kind of stick it out. And so a few years at Detroit Venture Partners, investing in startups, and then another investment group, Techstars, a global entity that had $1 billion of capital invested in thousands of startups around the world, wanted to open up a Detroit program. And so I ended up leaving Detroit Venture Partners to run that. It was focused on automotive and mobility. This was back before Cruise had been acquired by GM. So the thought of autonomous vehicles wasn't a thing yet. The word mobility was not a thing. This is 2014. In this program, we launched with Bill Ford and Verizon, Magna, and others. And again, no idea. Like we had all this automotive expertise. Technology is moving in this direction. There's a great community emerging around Metro Detroit and with the universities, U of M, Michigan State, and ran that for 5 years. And we invested in another 60 startups all around the world, transforming automotive and mobility. And again, a lot of people are like, how did you know? And it's like, didn't know, just had all the right pieces. And then it just ends up taking on a life of its own and just building it and running it right from downtown Detroit.
Well, right place, right time. And you're obviously an extremely talented and bright guy. So, obviously you've got yourself on a great track. So let's dive into Loretta, your latest project, and how you developed that. It's an interesting story and where it's at today.
Yeah. And so with this company, so my kids I live in Beverly Hills, Michigan, although I think your audience probably knows where we're at. Yeah. But right here in the Birmingham, Beverly Hills border, and they go to a small Catholic school, Our Lady Queen of Martyrs. And a few years ago during COVID, as many schools, they bought iPads, devices for kids to remote learn. And I remember one day when I was looking at the device at home, I was like whoever set these up doesn't know what they're doing. Like I could set these up better or differently. And so I volunteered to help. And then that led to me kind of uncovering, I was like, the school is paying a vendor to do all this IT for them. And I'm like, it's not matching up with what the school needs. I was like, they're doing their job, but it's like, what maybe a small business would need. A school is a small business, but it also works very differently. And when I kind of really dug in, I was like, the problem was just around too many devices, 300 iPads, 300 student accounts. They change every year. I'm like, this is kind of a logistical problem. There's some tech issues. And so I ended up taking over all the IT for the school and the church as a side project. I was still doing consulting work at the time. And my whole goal was to just make it all work. And I was like, if I make it all work, they don't need me as much to help them. If they don't need me as much to help them, this is a great side job. I get to see my kids all the time. The kids are always like, my dad owns 300 iPads. I'm like, I don't own 300 iPads. The school owns 300 iPads. And so it was fun for a few years. But as I kept working on it, a friend and mentor was like, why aren't you scaling this business? Why aren't you taking it to more schools? And I was like, I don't want to build an IT company. And he's like, well, what did you build? And as I thought about it, I was like, well, I built a software company. I think of IT as software that's doing service. And I was like, I actually have a totally different approach. And so last May, I formalized the company as Loretta Technologies, raised $1 million, investors, Detroit Venture Partners, another fund, Untapped, out of Seattle, led it with this whole premise, like, how do you make IT easier for schools? But also, if you make it so easy that anyone could do IT, could AI actually do the IT? Because no one wants to do IT. I don't want to do IT. And so this is a great use of potentially finding a way to get AI to do it.
That's great. And so right now, it's just here in Michigan at the local school that you described?
Yes. Currently right now in Michigan, where we're at over the last kind of 6 months was I had to figure out, how do you build an IT company? Like, I was doing IT, but how do you start to build a business that does IT? What are the different facets of it? I had to really immerse myself in just becoming an expert at a lot of these systems, tools, approaches, networking, Wi-Fi, security cameras, phone systems, computers, remote management. Surface level, I understood a lot of those, but now, like, how do you tactically do these? How do you do these more efficiently? And then also, like, how do we turn this into a product, like a software product? And that's what we've been really focused on over the last few months.
And so now you're ready to scale it and take it nationwide?
Definitely maybe more than Michigan.
Yeah.
Expanded. What we realized was, I kind of had three realizations. One, managing IT, especially at a school, like, you need to see everything in one place. So I need to see all the student accounts and email accounts in Google. I need to see if they exist in Microsoft, because maybe they use Microsoft for different education tools. I needed to see the users that existed in tools that you use to manage devices. So software that's installed to know what the battery health is or how much storage is on it. Had to connect it to the student information system to know what student, what classroom they're in, what room they're in. And so I needed to see everything in one spot. So that was kind of the first realization, building a simple database. Once I could see everything in one spot, it allowed me to manipulate things a lot more easy. And when I say manipulate, if a student has an issue with the device, I know what classroom they're in, what device they have, what's the status of it, so I can quickly figure out how to solve the issue. And that led to the second realization was, in terms of helping the teachers, with classes being short, 45 to 50 minutes, if there's a tech issue and the teacher's spending 5 minutes on it, 10% of the class is already over. But inevitably it could be 10, 15, 20 minutes just trying to get something to work. And now the lesson is impacted. And if it's a class that meets once a week, that can be almost 10% of that semester or that quarter. That whole class didn't work because of a tech issue. And so to speed it up, I never set up a help desk. I said, if a teacher had an issue, just text me. A lot of people thought I was crazy. They're like, why would you just let them text you? I'm like, well, I just need, if it's not working, I want to fix it. And I don't want a process or another tool or help desk.
Yeah, right.
And what I realized over time was, I'm the AI. Most of the questions I get, they're just ask Ted. And as I looked at all the data, I was like, actually, the AI could answer this. It actually could do the work. Like, where's an iPad? It's look at this, this, and this, and then you can tell you where the iPad is. I'm like, I don't have to do that. And how do I connect my laptop to the TV? Same thing, step 1, 2, and 3. And so that was this realization that if I take away the friction from getting help, teachers will actually ask for more. They'll feel more confident in using technology. Students learn better. And then I can use software and AI to kind of automate that part. And then the last realization was just paying for IT is like paying for a lawyer. Every time you ask for help, it costs you more. And unfortunately, with technology, like we are using it, we need to use it. It's not a nice to have anymore. It's kind of just the status quo. Like test taking is online, it's digital. And so having a business model where it's flat rate for the school, where it's unlimited help at a price point, was kind of mind blowing. Everyone's like, how do you do that? And I'm like, how can you not do it? Like, this should work if we set it up right. And so kind of combining all the data, eliminating the barriers to getting help and making it cost effective, that was this aha moment of like, there's a real innovation here. And then now productizing it, turning it into a software tool, which kind of like, you could think of it kind of like QuickBooks. QuickBooks, you can log into, see your credit cards, your bank accounts, you can send invoices, all your revenue. You
Right.
can see it as a business owner, your accountant can see it, your tax person, you're all looking at one system. This is what we're building at Loretta, is the same thing. It's an IT system that everyone can look at, see the same thing. So the teachers, the principals, the business manager, the IT service provider, we all see the same platform. And then there's no worry about if someone leaves, how does the tech work? Because inevitably that's a big black box of we
Right.
don't know how it works. And if that person's no longer around, now what do we do?
So let me ask you a question, because it's been a long time since I've been in a schoolroom. I have two little grandchildren, 5 and 2. They carry iPads with them to watch YouTube videos and fun stuff. Are kids now taking iPads into the classroom? Are they being provided iPads and that kind of technology in the classroom?
Yes. So a lot of schools went to one-to-one. One-to-one
Hmm.
meaning each student has a device.
Hmm.
Not every school does it, but a lot do. Some classrooms have like a classroom set. Sometimes a device is assigned to a student, but it could be an iPad, it could be a Chromebook, depending on the age, when they have like a
Right.
keyboard versus the touchscreen. The students are not using these all day. They're using them just throughout the day. And so sometimes they're what Apple refers to is like Apple calls it like active learning. So instead of passive learning, here's a iPad, go watch a movie, it's active learning, go create the movie. We just read this book. You have 30 minutes, go interview your peers, create a podcast, create a video, and now let's play it back for the class to watch. And so it's this creative use of technology, not just a passive use of it.
I think that's great. Although I'm a little concerned about competition. You know, if these kids are learning how to do podcasts, I could be out of business very soon.
It is funny how fast they learn, but it's
Yeah.
teach them what they know. And so in today's world, they're creators. They're watching shows online, how
Right.
to be a creator. It's a different skill set. And I think, a lot of the tools you use for this show and how you tape it, 5th and 6th graders are learning this in school as well. So they can maybe figure out what they want to tell their friends.
I'm doomed. If they pick up a puppy like I did and make it into a show, I'm over. So
It's a personality. It all comes down to personality and the
yeah,
authentic approach. So they can't take that.
I completely agree. Ted, what a remarkable career you've had, and so grateful to you. And in this particular case, educational excellence. I think this is just a wonderful thing that you're doing, and I know you could do anything you want to do. So it's great that you decided to embark upon this. I think this is good for everybody, and
Oh, thank you.
I wish you continued success and all the best. I hope that your wife has a stronghold on you and keeps you here in Detroit because you're making a difference, and we appreciate that kind of entrepreneurship. I like to meet people like you, and I've had a number of your former partners on this show talking about their entrepreneurship and innovations, and I think it's interesting to the public. So, Ted
thank you.
Serbinski, thank you. Best of luck with Loretta. It will be all over the screen and all over this show. And I wish you all the best. And thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. Have a good one. Folks, we'll be right back with more great entertainment here on The Franklin Show.
We said we'd never give in to a meltdown.
Mariella!
Never leave the house looking, well, and never let them out of our sight. Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
Woof. Hey, everybody, welcome back to The Franklin Show. Franklin and I are here, as always, with wonderful and sparkling guests. And this is just another one of those sparkling guests. I'd like to introduce Erica Schlenker. She is someone that I met back last summer, Erica, right? And
Yes, yes.
yeah, and you are manager of corporate external affairs at DTE Energy, something we used to call Detroit Edison back in the
Yeah.
day.
Yep. Yeah. Been around for a long time.
Yes, and you just are a charismatic and amazing lady who goes around, and I see you on social media at every possible opportunity, doing what you do, which is marketing DTE Energy. Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I have to say, meeting you at the event in Franklin last year was awesome. Franklin stole the show, the puppy. But that event was kind of an example of kind of what my role is at DTE. It's not so much marketing. A lot of it is really collaboration with community. I think when people think of DTE, we are a utility, we are a big monopoly and a company that provides power and gas. Seems very technical. But we have a real strong passion for community engagement and partnerships because we care about our customers, and the heart of what we do is trying to make sure that we're accessible, we're available, and we're listening to what our customers have to say. And the only way we can really do that is by showing up and being in front of the community. And so we were really grateful last year to be a part of the Main Street Franklin event where I think it was the first time, but DTE was honored to be sort of the guest of honor. And it was a great example of how DTE shows up. We had, I think, 11 or 12 tables, each of them having the experts of different areas of the company, and really just allowing community members, whether it was residents, governmental affairs folks, businesses, but really being able to speak to the folks that work on the ground at DTE to understand what are we doing, what investments are, how is it impacting their community, their business, work. And so I feel really privileged to be able to represent the company in this way. It kind of humanizes a utility, but I get to meet fabulous folks like you and your community. So thankful to do it every day.
And that's what I'm so impressed with. I imagine you do very little in office time, and you're out on the road all the time doing these kinds of presentations and just meeting the public. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think, I'm lucky enough to have a space that is across Oakland County. And so I really get to focus on so many different cities and areas and partnerships. But I do enjoy my time in the office. We have a team of folks for our community affairs group. All of us have various, counties and different partnerships that we kind of focus on. And we do that to be able to integrate ourselves into communities to be, present and available. But so it's nice to be able to come together, understand what's happening in other folks' communities, hear feedback, not just from what I hear in Oakland County, but what others hear across the state. That really helps us kind of pivot when needed, but amplify the work that we're doing. So we're meeting our customers and our partnerships needs. So, I'm in the office when I can be. There's a lot of, manual work that goes along with it, but I'm very grateful that most of my time is spent out in the community at partner meetings, seeing their work firsthand, being able to communicate with folks to understand, what community means to them and how DTE can show up to be a good civic partner, and not just the company, but how can Erica show up and, help make whatever it is that they're focused on work better.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to know what are the things that come up when you're out in the community. I mean, I know in the village of Franklin, we dealt with a lot of power outages. So you were probably somewhat inundated by frustrated customers, right? I mean,
100%.
that's the issue that you have to deal with, and you do a great job of placating and addressing patiently and professionally people's concerns. But that is something that comes to us when I was on the council for 2 decades. I mean, that was something that came to us quite often.
100%, right? I mean, I very much recognize the frustration that has come along with many years of, power outages and delayed power restorations. I mean, we are consistently working on rebuilding our grid. We have a 4-point plan that we're focused on, and it's really modernizing and standardizing an outdated infrastructure. And, we have to invest in it to make it work. And we know that when we invest, it works. But it's a lot about education, right? People don't know what's happening in their area. And we've developed amazing tools like our power improvement map, which is right on our website, where people can type in where they live, where they work, and it will pull up specific information real time of what projects are happening at DTE in their community. What effect and impact will that have on the power in that area? And I think, I'm a customer too. So
Yeah.
I understand the frustrations. And I think a lot of times people just want to be heard. They want to vent, and they want to know that, what they're experiencing matters, and it does. And so, I don't think it's about necessarily being patient. It's just about being understanding, because I do understand. I'm a customer myself. And so being able to hear people, listening to them. And a lot of times I take a lot of feedback back to my senior leaders and say, what are we doing in regards to this particular issue? And if it's, hey, we are doing a whole lot, I always make sure to come back and follow up to educate, to say, let me tell you about what's going on. We heard you, I hear you, and I just want to share. But if for some reason we haven't gotten to a specific project or an issue in a community, being able to be that person front and center where people do vent, they start to trust that, hey, what you say matters to me and I'm going to do something with it. It then helps us translate to our work and our leaders about what needs to happen next. That's what building relationships is all about. No relationship is perfect. But when you're able to respect people, be patient and understanding, and listen to what they say and do something about it, right? That's really what I do in the community. And patience, yes, comes with it. But people just, even being heard, they respect the work that's happening. They understand it, whether it's happening fast enough or not, right? To get that understanding means everything to them.
Yeah, that's an important part of your role, and communication is everything in a case like this. So you do a great job, and
I appreciate that.
yeah.
Thank you.
So the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is you're a founding member of the Jewish Community Partnership Council, and tell me a little bit about that, because that's another interesting aspect of your business career.
Yeah, so it's still in development, but it really just spurred from, I entered this role December of 24. And I was looking through the incredible partnerships that we've had across Oakland County. We have phenomenal organizations that are nonprofits, government relations, neighborhood groups, and faith-based organizations has always been a huge sort of bubble of folks that really support us and stand up, in different areas of the community. But as I was looking through what our partnerships look like, I thought, we're missing a really big group of folks here. I don't see a lot of shuls and a lot of synagogues. I don't see a lot of temples. And being a Jewish woman myself, I thought, I got to start representing, what's been this gap. And we had an initial meeting with a phenomenal community leader. His name is Menachem, and he's with the Chabad of Troy. I'm actually going to meet with him today. And that one conversation where I just went and sat down with him and learned about the work that they were doing, what they were experiencing, or the process of building their new building in Troy, really talked about how can I support not just the development and construction of the new building, but what can I do to help support their community, right? Yeah. Not just there as in a Jewish community, but in Troy, what kind of programs, what types of sponsorships, what type of education can I offer? And Menachem, after that meeting, I mean, I can't even begin to tell you. I think it was over 40 different Jewish organizations and partners that he had connected me and our team with. And it was his personal word saying, I met with Erica. She cares about the community. DTE cares about the community. I want you guys to take a moment to sit down with her and see what she's all about and what DTE is trying to do with our community, the Jewish community in Michigan. And so through that, we had, like I said, 40 some meetings and conversations. And it was incredible to see the leaders from various different areas of Michigan say, I support that this is the work that you guys want to do in the community and that you recognize how important this community is to being successful. And so now it's a group that I get to call on when we have different initiatives coming up. We have rate cases coming up. We want to educate them on the front end, have them give us, their feedback. Hey, this is what my community might think or might ask or might need, right? It helps us anticipate some of those needs, but it also helps us show up genuinely and holistically, not just serving our customers on a business occasion, but just as a community wide. And so it's been one of the greatest experiences for me. Just seeing how quickly folks understand the mission, but also want to lean in when they feel seen and when they feel like their voice is important. And this was just an area that just came naturally, right? Went to my temple, brought my folks and said, hey, let's meet. This is the guy who married me. This is the guy who I did my, bat mitzvah tutoring with. It just felt very close to me because it is my community.
Right.
But then I got to meet so many other folks that weren't necessarily people I knew, and just seeing how dedicated they are to the work that they have, the communities that they have, they care. And so if somebody's walking in and saying, I care about what you have to say, I care about what we can do to help, it's been an amazing growth. And I'm excited to see what happens this year. One of my goals, if I can share, we've always had a faith-based breakfast in our community affairs group at DTE. This is way before my time. And we had one last year. It was the first time I was a part of the team. And Menachem actually came. And, I looked around the room and I thought, okay, this is the only rabbi that's here today. Not that we didn't invite more. But I thought historically it's a lot of churches, which is amazing. But they have this sort of gathering that's so powerful where they get to focus on their specific messaging and belief, and they're surrounded by community members that are a part of that. And so my goal this year is to really have one of those specific to the Jewish community, right? Gather leaders and folks across Michigan and have a celebration together of coming together, finding each other and connecting on something as wide as utilities, right? But it brought us together, and it's motivating us to continue to collaborate. So
good job, and good
Thank
for
you.
Yeah, good for you for doing that. That's just another ability. Your ability to reach out to people and communicate is everything in your position, which you've held for what, 16 years? Where did you start? What's your
my gosh. So to be honest with you, DTE is my first corporate job.
Wow.
For, many years, a good 14 years, my background has really been with nonprofit development, program management, donor relations, fundraising. And I think that's why my work translates the way it does now at DTE, who's a big corporation. I always had a heart for community impact. I remember volunteering when I was still in college with an organization called Volunteers of America, Michigan. Sure. And when I graduated, they said, hey, we want to create a role for you. Will you come on board? And it felt like the biggest dream come true, right? Because I felt like I was helping develop something. I was assisting, families, particularly over the holidays, that needed assistance. And they didn't really have a donor relations fund development leg specific to Southeast Michigan. And so I feel like that's kind of been where my passion, but also my strategy thought process has developed, right? I went from Volunteers of America, where I was there for about 7 years. I transitioned to another nonprofit called Build On in Detroit. And that was really being, inside of high schools and working with students to help educate them on what's possible for them, right? Pulling them out of their bubble, taking them to third world countries, Burkina Faso, Malawi, helping them build schools next to community members, kind of just opening their eyes to what's possible. But it's also a very different sort of goal for the organization. So it was kind of pivoting. How am I connecting with the community for this messaging, and who's passionate about this? How can I sort of share the message in a way that resonates for something totally different? And, when DTE came about, it was a role that was for their corporate volunteerism work. And I thought, how could I join a company that has a huge footprint, thousands of employees, and being on the nonprofit side we always needed volunteers. We always needed foundations to understand why our impact was a priority. So how could I join a big corporation and help them learn and lean into understanding how to show up to community, through volunteerism, their time, their talents, the DTE Foundation. Having that background, I thought they probably have a lot of corporate folks. Maybe having a different view, a lens would be helpful. And that's kind of what my interest pulled me to DTE. And so I actually, was in that role for about 7 years. And in that time, when I first started, we had 1 day of volunteerism for the company. Then it turned into a week. And by 2018, I started in 2017. By 2018, we had a best in class program for volunteerism. Best in class means over 50% of DTE employees were out in the community volunteering with organizations across Michigan. And so it was such a phenomenal, building of understanding not just the community members. I felt like I had some pulse on that, at least in the short time that I was involved, a little over a decade and a half, but understanding what motivates people within a company to get out and take their time, take their talents, and deliver it to community. And so it really changed the culture within DTE in the most amazing ways. And so when this position opened up for community affairs, it was a way for me to sort of expand what that looked like. It wasn't just nonprofits at the
Right.
Relationship level. It was community members, businesses, just anybody that needed to understand or wanted assistance, didn't know how DTE could be a civic partner. And so just taking all my background from all the different experiences kind of positioned me, I think, in a way where I was able to see from both ends, right? And so it's been really helpful, not only to have, I truly am passionate about community and the work. And so I think, people often ask me like, well, how do you do it? You're always everywhere and you're always doing so many things. It's because I love it. It's because I love it and it's impactful. And I see people understanding what DTE does, but me being able to take it to back to the company and sort of redirect. But
there's a reward also for promoting volunteerism. Volunteerism is a challenge today because young people are so busy, and to be honest with you, in my opinion, somewhat self-absorbed. I came up, in my 30s and 40s and with children and living in the village of Franklin. And I became involved in every element of life in the village.
Yep.
And I consider myself a professional volunteer. I was a councilman for 2 decades. I ran the community association for over a decade. I served Meals on Wheels. I work at the food pantry at Temple Israel. I'm a Mason. I do all that. So it's all.
Thank you. You do.
Yeah, no, and I enjoy it. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it because I don't have to do anything. And this show is also my way of giving back to some extent, bringing interesting stories to people about people that I find interesting. And my love of media has driven the Franklin Show, and I'm very proud of our podcast. We're an award-winning show. So,
and I see why. I mean, 2 things to that. First, I love what you said about, once you start volunteering, you do learn to love it. right? And I think, we've done a really good job at DTE of developing, incentives, right? So the more people volunteer with the organizations that they love, that they support, we have funding that's associated with that. If you're a board member, we have funding that's associated with that. So we've always tried to create opportunities that strengthen, people's desire to start volunteering. But we know once they do, it's addictive. It's wonderful. You connect, right? And so I love that is something that is so ingrained in your life. But I also wanted to highlight the importance of what you just said with media and storytelling. I think, my LinkedIn or anytime I have the ability to sort of showcase what's happening, I do, because I think, storytelling is so powerful, and you and I can have an experience where it impacted us, but to not be able to share that and do it in a way that resonates with people, I always think is such a missed opportunity. So I appreciate, what you've built, what you've done, and that you continue to do, right? You continue to bring people on that can share sort of their experiences to highlight, whether it's DTE, a company, a nonprofit, whomever it is.
Right.
So, thank you for
Thank you
doing
for
that.
those very nice compliments. I appreciate
It's
that.
true.
Tomorrow I'm getting on a bus and we're driving all over the Phoenix area, delivering food to people in the streets. It's for a local synagogue, and I've never done it before, but I heard about it and decided I wanted to contribute. So I'll be doing that tomorrow, and I thought that would be a fun and interesting different way to volunteer. So let me ask you one last question before I let you go.
Yeah.
Where did you go to school? Did you? You're obviously local. You lived in.
So I grew up in West Bloomfield. I went to West
Yeah.
Bloomfield High School.
Yeah.
Then for college, I first actually started at Oakland University and realized, Michigan State has a very, very good communication program. And I wanted to go into PR. I wanted to do PR. So transitioned after 1 year to Michigan State, and I graduated from there. But have always been a local. I'm born and raised, here.
Yeah.
I will say I'm first generation. My family is from Russia. I have an older brother who's 9 years older than me, and he was 2 when they came. So I think that's also a really important part of my sort of upbringing, and
Right.
adds a lot of passion to the work that I do, just because I know, I've seen things firsthand. But so grateful to be in this area. Southeast Michigan is phenomenal.
It's a great
And meeting
community.
people like you,
Yeah.
connecting with folks, and working for a company that is so dedicated has been a dream come true.
And while you were talking, I think I spied your puppy wandering back and forth. Is it a puppy or a kitty?
He is a puppy, and when I say puppy, he's almost 4
He
months
should have
old.
been on the show, man. This is the Franklin
I
show.
knew he was going to make an appearance at some point, but I
Okay.
knew if I brought him on camera, he would steal the show and no one would want to talk to me anymore. So
Not true.
I'll send you a picture after the fact, but he's a
that'd be
cutie
great.
pie. Yeah.
Erica Schlenker, thank you so much for sharing your story here on the Franklin Show. You're a delightful person. I'm so glad that we met, and I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad that I persevered in trying to get you on the show. I know you have a very busy schedule, but I said, I got to get you on, man. You've got some great stuff to talk about.
I appreciate it so much. I'm grateful I met you, grateful I had an opportunity to connect with you at the event in person, but I'll keep watching you, keep seeing you shine and highlight some really great folks. So thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Thanks again, Erica Schlenker from DTE. And folks, stand by. We'll be right back.
Losing the fear of looking foolish comes with age.
Who did you steal him from?
Losing your way in your own home doesn't. Confusion with time and place may be a sign of Alzheimer's.
Mom, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine.
Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's.
Well, folks, thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you to my great band, my fabulous announcer, this entire great studio audience, and all of the technicians that work so hard every week to make The Franklin Show the most entertaining and award-winning show on television. God bless you all. See you next week, right here on The Franklin Show. Thanks, everybody.
Grab a seat, don't you go. Franklin's ready to steal the show. Lights are up, let's let it glow. It's The Franklin Show on your TV. Big ideas, big energy. From stars to dreamers, you'll soon see. It's Franklin and me. Yeah, yeah. From coast to coast, it's time for The Franklin Show.